Hey you guys, a little bit of a personal video here as I'm getting more insights into my family. And people have asked me if this person is a narcissist. I don't think so, and I'm not really always a fan of using labels. And I think that people operate, on some kind of a continuum. People can be very selfish or a little bit selfish, very grandiose, a little bit grandiose, a little bit anxious, a lot anxious, right? I mean, people are multidimensional. But yeah, it's kind of hard sometimes to see things in my own family. It's taken me a really long time because the dysfunction isn't really that great, and these people can be really nice. Most of the time, they're very nice, but using me that I didn't really see. Okay, here's the bottom line. Um, there's a person in my family who has had a lot of problems in her relationships with men. And I finally realized that after years of listening to this person complain about different men in her life or different employers that didn't treat her badly, I suddenly realized after 20 years that she was part of the problem. That when she doesn't get her way, she gets very reactive. So this person is usually very nice, not really like a person looking for argument, but maybe. When she doesn't get her way, she becomes grandiose. She becomes angry and somewhat controlling, and what she will do is use manipulation tactics to get her way. So, but see, I didn't see it because the way she shows up with me is different than the way she shows up with these men. With me, she treats me more like a friend. Um, she doesn't want to alienate me, so she's on pretty good behavior with me. With me, she uses me to call me when she's bored and driving, when she needs to vent, or when she's upset. I don't recall her ever calling me to see how I was doing. She doesn't meditate. She has difficulty just being still. She hasn't done any therapy. And usually, like, all the stories I ever hear are about how things are other people's fault. But she's generally charming and funny, and many people enjoy her company. And I would say she's a pretty good mom. So that's why I mean it's hard to tease things out. But in her relationships with men, and this is where your patterns will show up in your intimate sexual relationships. In her patterns with men, she will get very reactive if she doesn't get her way, angry and controlling. And she uses control to get what she wants, or anger. And when they don't want to engage with her, she will accuse them of running away, because not everybody wants to engage in an argument or keep making the point when she's not listening. They may just like be, okay, I'm done here. And then she will start the love bombing phase. And again, it's not like buying gifts, but it's being nice. And I don't even know if I want to call love bombing. I'd say it's more like, oh my God, I'm so alone, I messed up, I want you back. And then it won't be, oh, I see your point about my behavior. It'll be, oh my God, you really hurt my feelings. When you run away, it hurts my feelings. So it becomes all about her over and over and over with no movement forward in her behavior or the relationship. And that's really tricky to see. That was tricky to see, but I finally had an insight as I was talking with her and a gentleman. She was kind of like he was ending it with her. I was talking with them or emailing with them, and I had a sudden insight that this guy is not the bumbling fool that she made him out to be. She had portrayed him to me as a man with a long list of problems that if he would just change, then all would be well. And now this gentleman has done a lot of therapy, and he's pretty knowledgeable about his behavior. He's pretty calm and measured. In fact, he's so calm and measured and a whole person, he's done with her. And that's the thing, healthy people will not stay in relationship with unhealthy people. They might inadvertently get into one for whatever amount of time, but they won't stay in one. And this was his first dating experience in many decades. So I think he probably won't get into one like that again. Now, what happened when I pointed out that I was so happy with my new insight that she uses anger and control, and I thought she would be happy for me to point this out. And you guys might think, don't point things out to people, but I'm also practicing my couples therapy work. In there, it's really important to do what's called joining through the truth, where you hold up a mirror to the person and say, this is what I see. It won't make them defensive, but they may not like it. Okay, put it that way. And what we want to do, we want to hold up the mirror to the grandiose person, the one who's the bully or the very walled off person. We want to hold the mirror up to that person first and budge them, because the latent person, the one who is being walled off or treated poorly, has less power. And then we deal with them later. So I was practicing. I'm like, oh, yeah, you use power and control. And this is where I saw it. And I was on the phone with you this time, and you were just really yelling at him. I was very, very upset with that. And she got very, very angry with me and called me all kinds of names, which I'm like, okay, fine. She's very angry, like being called out like this. I didn't really wait for an apology or anything. I'm like, wow, And then a week goes by, and she sends me this long apology email. She sends me a long apology saying that, how we really love each other so much, and how we'll always be family, and, how she was so angry with what I had pointed out, that she didn't use any of the words of my email. She was so angry, and she was so hurt, and instead of me acknowledging her anger, I wasn't de-escalating it, and how she will always love me. And I'm like, that's very interesting, because now it's all about her and her feelings. Now it's almost like I felt compelled. And this is like, I'm sure how people are in negative relationships. I felt almost compelled to accept the apology, because that's what I do. Yeah, I felt compelled to accept the apology, like to reply, but I didn't, because I was so sure of the position, and so sure of how she had treated this man poorly, and so sure of my insight, that it wasn't easy this time. In fact, I haven't replied. I usually would have replied. And this is what I want to share with you guys, is that I don't know if you want to call it love bombing, but sweet talking, because she realizes that she wants me back in her life. She wants my devotion. She wants my attention back in her life. Okay, she doesn't want me back in her life so she can get to know me better or learn about how to be a better girlfriend. She wants me back in her life so she can call me while she's bored and distracted, or someone to vent on, or to know she has family, because she likes family and she does want connection. So she wants me back in her life. And the way she's doing it is to be like, oh, poor me. You really hurt my feelings. I felt so angry how you turned on me by pointing out my flaws and weaknesses to a man I'm no longer dating. And I didn't turn on her. I mean, there was some harsh truth in that. There was nothing in her email about, I am angry and controlling with men. I have been mean to him. You're absolutely right. There was none of that. None of that. So I didn't even reply. What was I going to say? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I upset you. I'm not going to say that. It's upsetting to people like that when you hold up a mirror. I'm sorry I held up a mirror. I didn't call her any names. I didn't judge her. I will say there was a little bit of me that was angry for the hundreds of hours I spent listening to her on the phone, consoling her over the years about these men who treated her badly. I didn't hear her say anything about going to therapy or how she's hurt people or her part. I heard none of that. And so that's why it's so important to be like sure of your position. So not to be, my position not being that I'm right or wrong, but my position being I'm not budging on this. Just like I didn't budge with my brother. I'm not budging because there are people who are going to take every little thing and make it into an argument rather than seeing how they could improve. And there are people that haven't done work on themselves or gone to therapy. I mean, we just all have so many blind spots. I'm going to say these are not bad people. These are just people stuck in negative patterns. And I think they will stay stuck in negative patterns until they wake up from, I think it takes more pain. I think this person I'm making the video about hasn't gone through enough pain to be like, maybe I'm the problem here. So that's what it is. You use people or you're mean to them, they pull away, and then you're really nice to get them back. That's unhealthy. Whether you call it narcissism or selfishness or dysfunctional. I'm going to say dysfunctional. I don't know if she's a narcissist. I don't know if that really applies, but definitely dysfunctional. And I know how they like to argue. They want to argue and not see their part. I know my part in this. My part in this was going along for too long, finally holding up a mirror and not being willing to budge. And I'm also making this video just to show you, I want to show you guys how insidious some of these tactics can be. And also that not to have people gaslight you off your what you know or what you see or twist things around. One thing that this person used to say to me was, when I get in an argument with my boyfriend, he twists things around. Say that we're arguing about something and I'm really upset. He doesn't acknowledge my feelings. He won't acknowledge my feelings. But now I can see why, because she uses her feelings to get people to back off and change the subject. See, if you call her out on something, she'll say, oh my God, that really upsets me. How could you upset me like that? You really upset me. To get you to back off. And that works with people pleasers. Like, oh, I don't want to upset her. I'm going to back off. And then if you don't back off, it becomes, you don't even care about my feelings. Like, say you start a conversation with someone like her and be like, well, we were supposed to have dinner at 6 and you were late. You didn't even, and I would have preferred if you'd let me know, because she feels entitled to just show up whenever, sort of. Or maybe that isn't the best example. Then she could be, I'm so hurt that you expected me to be here. I was busy. I was late working. I couldn't call you. First a justification, then, well, I'm so upset that you would say that about me. And get in an argument. Then when the other person's like, doesn't want to argue, then they could be like, oh, you don't care how I feel? Now you're just going to run away? I don't know. I might not have done a good job, but you get the point because I don't know how they do it. And I haven't seen that side of her. She doesn't show that side to me as her sister. I get used in a much different way than these men get used. But the idea being that she was doing something with me that she hadn't done before, and I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with someone being like, oh, what you said to me hurt my feelings. And now it's all about her feelings rather than the thing that we talked about. That's what I was going to say. There's a thing, a huge thing that I wanted to bring to her attention, but she doesn't want to talk about this huge thing. She wants to talk about how her feelings are hurt. And it wasn't because I was mean or ridiculing or name calling. I was discussing a thing, but she doesn't want to discuss the thing. Her behavior. I was discussing her behavior. And she doesn't want to talk about that. So now it's all about her feelings. I hope I'm explaining this right. And that is a way to get me to back off, to get me back on her side, to forget about this thing, but it's still there. It's still there. And to not have to make any changes at all. So I didn't even reply. I don't want to be drawn in. There's nothing I can say. You know, I tried for years in my marriage, and I even tried recently with my ex-husband. And one thing I've decided is that it's controlling of me to try to change other people. It's controlling. And it's not my right to control people, to try to make them change. What do I know? I'm just another person. People will change or not change. Maybe she's better off being protected and walled off. Maybe it serves her in some way. Maybe God needs her to be this way for a little bit longer. You know, maybe she's choosing to be that way. I don't want to invest any more emotional energy in changing people. Yeah, that's what feels really good to me to say right now. You know, I just think that part of me, I just had a really big insight, you guys. Just like I fawned over men, trying to change them, copying my mom. And that takes a lot of freaking energy to chase people, try to get people to change. You know, I don't want to chase people who don't want to be with me. I don't want to have people change and treat me differently if they don't want to. You know, with this person, I've made a lot of requests. I want to have conversations when she's not driving, when we're both seated. That's how I have my conversations most of the time. And honestly, if this person was in my family, I would have ended that relationship a long time ago. And that's what makes the family thing so difficult, because there's this feeling like this is family, I must get along with this person. That's just a thought. You know, that is just a thought, and thoughts can be changed. I don't want to chase people who don't want to be with me. I don't want to change people. People don't want to be changed. All I can really do is tell people my preferences, what I like, and if they don't want to do it, just let them be and decide if I want to be in their lives, friends or family or what. I have to say, and yet I still feel really sad for these people that they're walled off behind this protective wall, but maybe that's where they're happy and safe, you know? And so we can just let them be there. That's all I've got.